Hey music fans, as a roadie I had this great opportunity to tour with all these bands. I wrote a book about my experiences on the road and it was the #1 new release on Amazon and Bios and it's now sold millions of copies on Kindle. I'm Joel Roadie and this is my podcast, Party Like a Rock Star. I used to do some other kind of content on my channel. I did a lot of interviews. Some of them were really great. I enjoyed them. Last night I was at my friend Mike Davenport's house for New Year's Eve. Mike is best known as the bass player of the band the Ataris. They got a bunch of stuff lined up for this year. You guys should go check them out. But Mike and I, of course, got to talking about music. It's what we're both into. And we decided, hey, why don't we discuss it on one of these? So we're going to jump into it now. Hope you guys enjoy this little segment. And it's us discussing Joey Jordison and this lawsuit with Slipknot and our takes on it. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to put in the comments your thoughts. You know, I'm intrigued to see what everybody has to say. Okay, so I was over at your house last night for New Year. New Year's. Good time. Thank you for the invitation. And you and I got to chatting. So one of the things I had pulled up yesterday on the news, which is what we talked about, I'm just going to catch everybody up here. I'm going to just read the headline straight out. So this is from TMZ. And it was Joey Jordison's estate sues Slipknot, accusing him of the band callously using his death as marketing for the latest album. So I'm just going to keep reading here, and then we can interject and see as we see fit. But according to TMZ, Joey Jordison's estate has filed a lawsuit against Slipknot, accusing the band of profiting off his death after abruptly, I love these big adjectives, they're so aggressive, abruptly kicking the drummer out of the group by email a decade ago. So I did look into it a little bit. And now, total question. If somebody, I don't know, I'm super hypothetical. Hypothetical.
Let's just start here. There's a couple things there. Eh? Number one is Slipknot just kicked out their most recent drummer, Max Weinberg's son, from the Bruce Springsteen E Street Band, and he found out on social media. So maybe
so that was my question. I mean, wouldn't you guys? So Ataris is a huge band, and massively hypothetical. But if somebody was to be removed from your current lineup, wouldn't you have a lawyer reach out? Because I mean, it's a business type thing.
Well, you know, in our situation where we have had to part ways with members before, and even myself has come and gone, as you know, the right thing to do is to be man to man, right? And I hate to be like stereotypical that way, or man to woman if there was a woman involved. You need to be, if you're going to share that kind of relationship, which being in a band is a serious relationship, you need to be upfront to people, kicking them out via them finding out online or them finding out with an email. That's really bull tactics.
It's not cool, but I would just think now, I mean, we're talking big entities, and I'm not talking personal levels. I'm talking about big money. I would expect
you're right.
To break a business relationship, I would expect my manager, my agent, or my lawyer to reach out to me personally. Hey, Joel, you're fired, bro.
Yeah, well, and that does happen a lot, right? So there's a lot of times when somebody's, I know other bands that this has happened to, where somebody got contacted by the manager, right? The manager says you're out, and then the other guys ghost him and don't talk to him anymore, and that's how that goes. So that's the first part of this, right? Is that however Joey was fired, he had a serious drug problem, right? So whatever happened to him all those years ago, I wish that they were more professional that way. Number one. And
I haven't read anything that says they didn't. There was no contradiction. I think they did. That was an email. That's how it happened.
Right. And that does happen, right? People don't want to face people face to face. And I think I'm right about this, that Joey's one of the original members, right? He grew up with these guys in Nebraska.
Yeah. So he was in Slipknot before they were called Slipknot. I mean,
Exactly. And so, and I know that that band has a history of this kind of thing, right? Because even their first lead singer has some things to say about how he was let go, and I think this even goes back to before that. So, there's that, but that's not what this article is about, right? This article.
No, so okay, but to set it up, so what I'm saying, why I think it's important is, as we continue on with the discussions here, was the anger, the hostility of this entire situation, and I'm not expecting an answer yet, or neither, not that either one of us know, but was it all fashioned off of an origin story of like, hey, kiss off, dude, and you would be mad about it, rather than working out amicably.
Right. When anyone's kicked out or let go or parts ways with something that's successful as Slipknot or any kind of band,
Your career.
you're upset, right? And
Yeah.
so in Joey's case, Joey ends up dying, and then it's the family that's upset. No one
Right.
knows
In
really.
all fairness, too, it's not like the band were aware this guy was dying. They didn't know that he had ailments like that.
When somebody is yeah. Do you think he's going to die? No one thinks anyone that young's going to die. But his drug problem and drug history was enough to suggest that he was living recklessly. Let's say that. So was it an absolute surprise to the rest of the band? I think that he ended up dying. I would say, having been around plenty of people that were on that path myself, I would say that it's a bummer, but not a surprise. How's that? But what's interesting to me about this article is that it's the family that's very upset about this. And you never know what's happening with like the royalties for the records he did play on, right? Is he getting paid fairly? Is the band holding on to that and not paying at all? That article doesn't explain that, does it?
So it does not. But one of the things that I would say, are you a full-fledged member of the band? That's a big deal. There's a lot of bands out there where you're in the band, but it don't mean you get the checks.
Yeah, it's called a hired gun, right?
Are you a hired gun, or are you really part of the band?
I have a hard time believing Joey was a hired gun.
I would be super surprised because they were before, and I don't think he had left the band to lose that opportunity to come. Right. So he was probably not. And then any NDAs or anything like that, I don't think they would work as you're part of the core.
Well, I will tell you from experience, there's partnership agreements, right? And so many members can vote another member out for even if they're a full-fledged member of the band for reckless reasons, right? Like addiction and things that hurt the brand, if you will. I hate to go there, but that's the truth, right? So if somebody's hurting the brand, then yes, you can get voted out of that situation. Now that doesn't stop you from getting paid from what you performed on.
Right.
So I would say that number one is if the family's not getting paid for what he'd done previously, his performance, then there is a beef, right? Which
I don't think is part of the argument. I didn't read any of that they weren't getting that. Now here's where we continue on. So here's what, as it continues on. In the lawsuit, and I'm just reading here blabbermouth, okay? So in the lawsuit, which was filed this past June, interesting. Why are we talking about it now? Why did it take so long for all of these media guys to get to it? In June, it was a long time ago, by Steamroller LLC, the successor in interest of Joey Jordison's estate, claims that Slipknot has failed to give back over at least, that's weird lingo, but 22 items belonging to the drummer after promising to return all of his belongings. Okay, whatever, right? So whatever. Now, as it continues on, in the complaint, which was obtained by Blabbermouth, Steamroller accuses Slipknot members Corey Taylor and Michael Sean Clown Cran and associated companies of failing to return musical instruments, gear, wardrobe belonging to Joey. Steamroller also alleges that Slipknot included these items, here's the part, in a traveling Slipknot museum called Knotfest, and lined their pockets with profit off of Jordan's devoted fan base. Now, here's the reason why I jumped into this, because this is the part that's interesting to me, okay? So the first thing, my brain, the first thing I look up is, how much does it cost to get into the museum, right?
Right.
If it costs $20 to get in the museum, where's Joey's $5? But it's
Right.
free. It's free. So it's free entrance. Now, the argument, we can continue on. You paid $160 for the ticket to go to the show, and for free, you get to go to the museum. Furthermore, not everybody gets to go in the museum. Apparently, it's really hard to get in there. So how many of the people who paid $160 paid for it to go to the museum? And that was the main reason they went. That's the argument.
Okay, well, you got to go back to what you said at the beginning of this article. Number one is Joey's estate has obviously been his interest in Slipknot has been purchased by this other entity that you're speaking of. What's the name of that entity
Okay,
again?
so Steamroller.
Okay, Steamroller. So what this
Which I
lawsuit
think is his family members, I think.
Yeah, but it's probably not. It's probably a representation of his family members who's getting a decent cut. You understand that? So it's their job to go out because they make money of course, they're making money for Joey's family members, but they're also making money themselves. So what their job is to do is they're like one of these companies you hire to go track down your royalties, right? So they're coming in there and there's clawing and scratching at everything. So what happens is they filed this lawsuit in June, as you said, right? They go in there in June, file this lawsuit. They're not getting any action. They're not getting any motion. So they start pushing it to the press. Then Blabbermouth picks it up. That's why you're not hearing about it till now. Their job is to scrape and claw for every dollar they can get because they get a percentage of that. So
totally,
maybe
let's say I agree with you on every. Let's just we're talking literally dollars. So now, total different hat, not fan, art dealer, Joel. Okay,
right.
And as you know, I have the Pink Floyd sheet
know.
music. I have it on loan to Pink Floyd for museum stuff.
Right.
It's the same sort of idea, but I'm not in Pink Floyd. But nonetheless, I don't get paid off of that. I make zero. But what do I get out of it? I get provenance, baby.
Right.
And it sounds better, Joel, art dealer dude, than Pink Floyd dude. So here, what they're building is provenance, okay? And the guy was actually in the band, but what sounds better? Joey wore it once and hid it in his wardrobe till he died, or it's been traveling in a museum exhibit.
Right.
And at no point, I mean, so would I be interested just Corey and them say, no, this is our stuff and not yours?
Yeah, the thing is that, yeah, that is because I'm sure that the reason they have that shit to begin with is because Joey was so high, he just walked away from it, right? He didn't give
Well, even like, so, oh God, years ago traveling with Fishbone, Angelo would leave his saxophone on a regular basis and I'd pick it up off the stage and bring it to the next
right. He walks away from a tour and all this stuff is in the Slipknot road cases and all this other stuff. He doesn't care about getting that shit back. The only people caring about that are this company that the family members have hired to get every dollar they can out of his name, which I think is bullshit, right? So I think,
again, our dealer guy hat, dude. If we were to auction this stuff off, sorry, Slipknot fans, this is not millions of dollars worth of stuff, dude.
It's not at all. It's not, and this may be a play for another issue that we don't know about, right? So this may be just some kind of play that ties into something else that we don't know about, and of course so
the play, what it could be here is furthering on the argument. You guys, and here I'm just going to paraphrase from here on instead of reading it, but you guys are using his name for marketing your next album. You're using his death, his demise, the tragedy of this guy to push your brand.
Slipknot put out so many records since then. How is that possible? That's so stupid, right?
Okay, so what I would get, how would you like us to market our new record? What do you guys want us to do?
Right. Well, if they're paying royalties the way they should be, even though Joey hasn't been in the band in all these years, anything that Slipknot does now that keeps him successful only helps his estate for the rest of Slipknot's career and thereafter. So, yeah. I mean,
and that's for something, assuming that the family doesn't have a bazillion bucks, or if they just want to keep his legacy alive. I mean, that's your bro, dude.
even to go into another direction here, right? Isn't the crazy thing now that is bands becoming something else even after every original member is gone? And I just read an article today about Lynyrd Skynyrd is the next band that doesn't have any original members left, right? So, but what they're doing is they're passing it down. There's
But then there's the unfair part. His brother's been touring with the band for like ever.
His little brother,
and he's still not the guy. So it's like rough.
He's not the guy. And Foreigner tours with no original members. And this is going to be what's going to happen in the future. Slipknot has I believe that there's a younger band of a couple of the guys' sons, Corey's son, I believe, somebody else's son, that plays. Someday they're going to don the masks, right? And they're going to take over.
So was that the intelligent part? The most intelligent of it all was that you just wear a mask or a different mask.
Well, and
you're still it.
And we talked about this last night, and this is a great segue into your next article. But Sublime's a perfect example, right? Is that the Bradley Knowles' wife sued Sublime for using the name when Rome took over as the singer 15 years ago, and so they had to use the moniker Sublime with Rome, right?
Yeah.
And now they've negotiated for Bradley's son, who's gotten old enough and good enough to take over the band. And of course, with her baby boy being the lead singer, she's going to let it be called Sublime.
It could go really well. So before we segue into anything else here really quick, the end of it all, I think, is the best road taken, which is that the members of Slipknot have not replied back to this complaint, which I think was the smart move. I think
it's not that. It's that there's attorneys handling it, or it's such a lame lawsuit, right, to begin with, that it's got no traction, that nobody cares, not even a judge. How's that?
I wonder. Hey, the podcast is over. What are you still doing here? Well, while you're here, like and subscribe. Thanks.